say that the individual who's the citywide person is not made the president, which could ideally happen, what would be the routine of that individual? I mean, they would not have constituents to answer to, or they would have constituents to answer to, or they just wait to be a tiebreaker, or
no, they could be a community activist.
Okay, so they could oversee various other parts.
Right.
Okay.
Do you have suggestions of those duties?
I would say doing things that perhaps the council president is doing now in terms of event like, bring your pets to city hall all day. All the niceties that you
That's like a good job.
Having one that sits same.
Other questions?
There's one, I'm the attorney, there's one legal issue I just don't know that you've thought about that I think you might want to give a little bit of thought to. As I know you're aware and others are aware, Yonkers has been under scrutiny over the years for civil rights violations and voting issues, voting rights issues. What you may not have focused on in your proposal, and I want to give this some more thought, but I just want to raise the issue with you so you can think about it. Okay. Normally in municipalities, at-large elected seats do not favor minorities. As a matter of fact, in most municipalities, they move away from at-large elected seats so that minority voting is able to result in minorities on the governing body.
That's a very good point.
Right. So,
and I think that's a very good point in which you make, which then supports my theory for the fact that the history of the city is that they really don't vote for minorities citywide.
I'm not speaking
so with that being said, then the chances for a minority to become city council president, if they have a good relationship with the other 6 council members, would be more of a chance than actually going and trying to run citywide the way it is now.
But before you get to that, this is what I want you to think about, is that there could be an argument made that by having a 7th council member who is elected at large, that minority voting power in Yonkers is being diluted. And being diluted because right now, when you do this as a percentage, you do it as a percentage of all of the governing body. Right now, it's 100% of the governing body is elected from districts, putting aside the citywide officers for a moment. And we would be taking that, and 1/7 of the council, as you're proposing it, would be elected at large.
I'm sorry, I think you misunderstand. No, there's currently 1/7 elected at large, and it will stay 1/7.
There's currently an at-large
city council president.
No. City council president is a different office.
No, she's proposing that the same. Right, that's what I'm saying. There are 7 people on city council now.
Right.
One of them is elected at large as city council president. She's proposing taking the elected at large and making them just a regular city council president, and then those 7 vote as city council president. So it would not just change the ratio of.
I see what you're saying.
It would not change the ratio.
Okay, so then the question for civil rights purposes only becomes how that person is selected, how the city council president is selected, and by vote of the other city council members, or by
Yes. And she's proposing that it actually improves the opportunity. They've got to get 1 out of 7.
Right.
They're 1 out of 7 versus 1 out of 200,000.
I got you. Okay,
I myself was the first woman and the first minority to serve as a majority leader because my peers selected me. I may not have that same opportunity if I had to go citywide.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I ask a question, please? What this individual who would be running citywide, you're running in your district, and Ms. Ranowski's running in hers, and everybody down the line is running in there, and this individual has to do the outlay to run citywide, and then basically the likelihood is if they're a novice to this would end up not being the city council president after having had the expenditure to run.
And maybe
So
not.
what's the incentive for somebody to, I don't mean, I
And-
guess somebody just wants it that bad, they would do
well,
it.
And maybe not, because the fact that you have a person who, like, say, for example, maybe a Richard Martinelli may come back and he already knows procedures of the city
So he
council.
could technically end up being the city
He
council
could-
president
he could,
again.
if his peers.
But if it was a novice, the individuals run citywide, but there's a strong likelihood that a more experienced council person will end up president.
Most likely, because they already have established relationships, I would guess. But you never know.
That has to be a person with a tremendous amount of incentive to want to do public good.
Well, yeah, some people just are driven just by the fact of being an elected official.
It's a big expense, as you know.
So you're saying that there's a bigger expenditure to run citywide, but you wind up with just.
It's a lot of shopping
But you know,
bags.
but you know what, if you look at New York City, which is a larger area, they do the same thing. They run citywide, not knowing whether or not they're gonna be.
Anything.
Yes, a speaker of
Okay.
the House, whatever. So,
And one other thing, have you given any thought to the term limits issue?
everything would be the same.
But so,
They said they would,
they would be term limited in terms of their city council seat, from their district.
And they're
And
running
then they
an
would,
odd year.
then they would run,
On the odd year as is now.
no, I'm saying in terms of, you're saying that if they completed their terms in their district, they're term limited to 2, right? And they complete those 2, then they can run citywide and would wind up with just a regular seat.
I can do the same thing, I can do the same thing
You
now.
can do now as city council
Yeah,
president.
I can do it now as a council member. If I finish my term in 4 years, and I decide I wanna move to the 3rd district, immediately I can run.
Right, but you have to move.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, but I still have that.
And I didn't know that they
opportunity
could do that, by the way.
If you change your residence
So
legally.
the term limit is you're term limited to your district.
Yeah, my local.
Got it. But that's a move. This one, you wouldn't actually have to move.
No, you wouldn't have to.
I ran, I'm District 1,
Yeah.
I completed my term.
Right.
Now I'm running as the citywide position.
So you want the position.
Okay. And you're, that's what I'm asking, so you,
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
So, I want to be clear about that. So in other words, the idea is that the city, the at-large city council seat would be a seat that you could run under your program, you could run for immediately after your term limits are up from your district. So conceivably, if a person was able to be elected that way, they could just stay on the council theoretically forever by just going back and forth.
Well, not forever, but what a person can't, usually what happens, a person who holds the position of the council president, obviously in the event is that person usually is aspired to higher.
Right.
So usually, they use that as a stepping stone to either become the mayor.
Right.
So they'll probably most likely run for mayor.
But I appreciate the pattern, Pat, in terms of the politics and how it typically goes, but I'm just saying, a person could be a city council member, and I'm not saying this is negative, I just want to understand, under your system, you could be a city council member elected from a district, serve your 2 terms, then immediately run for 2 terms at large, serve those 2 terms, and go back to your district and just keep going that way.
And I, me myself as a renter could do the same thing. I can run for city council, serve my 4 years, move to one where I used to live, serve 4 years, then run back to where I am now, and then keep doing it. People like me that much if I have that kind of energy.
that's saying you're following in 2 different districts, but currently, you
I'd look
could
for a
run
raise
for
as a
your
council
2
person.
city council positions, your 2 terms, win those, and run for city council president, win those 2, and then go back and run in your current. So this doesn't shift that energy, except it's saying that a city council person could stay on, if they could garner enough votes citywide, they could stay on an ongoing basis. This doesn't change that. That dynamic is there today, if you wanted to do it that way. All right.
Let me ask a question. Do you think that there might be an argument made by the voters that their voting rights were being diminished because they would have the mayor, which is a citywide office, and they would no longer have any ability to choose the city council president? Right, because that person, they couldn't be assured that person would occupy that same position